Hello, my name is Jeff, and today I'm going to be taking a listen to Sleep Token's Emergence. This is a new song that came out yesterday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. It's unfortunate, but I did react to it when it came out, but the video would not upload. I believe that since they've signed with RCA Records, they've got their video content and Sleep Token's music on lockdown. It's a new cash cow prize pony, so they're really protecting that. Didn't used to be that way, but unfortunately, some of us have run into issues uploading our videos. A lot of us have figured out workarounds. This is my first reaction, so I'm not really sure what to do to take that off, to grant access to upload the video. There's probably some kind of encryption that you have to run to remove whatever is coded to protect the content, but I can't do that. So I have found a lyric video that someone was kind enough to upload, and hopefully I won't run into any of those copyright issues with this lyric video. We'll see. But this is, I've heard the song several times. I've watched a lot of reactors, a lot of reaction videos to this, so I am very familiar with the song at this point. I've got the lyrics pulled up on my laptop here next to me so I can refer to them. There's some murky waters for sure, lyrically, especially in the second verse. So I'll do my best to kind of give, that's all we have as Sleep Token fans is our best guess. So I'll do my best to offer up some suggestions, some interpretations, but that's really all it's going to be. It's unfortunate. Maybe you will never know the actual purpose and meaning behind some of these lines from Vessel. Some of them are spot on and they're on the nose, and it's really hard to miss what's being said. It's pretty straightforward. But when he starts spitting bars, as the kids say, the stream of consciousness type of fast cadence delivery and vocals, the rap kind of stuff, then I enjoy listening to that thoroughly, and I enjoy trying to decode it too. It's just very creative, and I'm sure it's fun as can be for him to come up with that stuff and figure out rhythmically how to make it work and how to make all the pieces fit within the framework of the song. But deciphering it lyrically is a whole other challenge. So I'll do my best. But my background is less in lyric writing and is more in songwriting, music. So I played guitar, rhythm guitar, and background vocals in a band, several bands, but in a signed band back in 2001, 2002 with Universal Records, and we toured quite a bit. And since then, I've gone to school for recording arts and got a degree in associates in recording arts, and have done a lot of DIY projects and music writing from home and released some music as well. Fun fact, the last piece of music that I worked on was an instrumental piece called Emergence. And it's out there. You can go to iTunes or Spotify or YouTube or wherever online and type in Emergence. Evergreen, that was the name of the project. And the album was Year of Light. So Evergreen, Year of Light, Emergence. And yeah, that was the last piece of music that I worked on, and it was released in 2016. So I did it first, Vessel. You guys can probably hear the wind whipping outside here. It is really windy in my little cove in the apartment here. Hopefully that's not ruining this video. Anyhow, so my background is in song composition. I listen to a lot of different types of music. I guess if I were to say some of my favorite artists are Cloudkicker, Intronaut, Tool, Meshuggah, things that are rhythmically interesting, I seem to be drawn to. That I guess I understand that a lot of that music is in the style of like metal and harder rock. So maybe that's a dynamic that I'm drawn to. I certainly am a fan of that side of Sleep Token. But what Sleep Token does so well, as many of you know, is they take a lot of elements from different styles of music and infuse it into their compositions. And it's hard to classify that kind of creativity. It's hard to put that into a genre because it's so many different things. So it, of course, pisses off a lot of people who are guardians of the genre, and they want it. They're not okay with a band like Sleep Token being classified as metal because it's not as metal as other bands are. I don't know. But to me, when it comes to songwriting, if you can write a damn good song that moves people emotionally and has different stylistic choices to convey emotion, I mean, that's all music is, right? It's just conveying emotion. So I don't want to listen to something that is just angry all the time, although there are some bands that I listen to that are fairly angry all the time. That's beside the point. But when it comes to storytelling and emotion and really like hooking you and bringing you in and being captivating and moving you, like having a start and a middle and a finish, like a good story, Sleep Token does that just about as good as anybody I've ever heard. And I've listened to a lot of different music over my years. I'm going to be 45 years old this year. And yeah, I mean, I have a decent knowledge of music built up in my Rolodex and my human experience. So Sleep Token, gimmicks and all, I know that, the marketing thing is clever and it's bringing a lot of new people to the table and garnering a lot of hype. And it's fun for fans to try and figure out what's next and, the lore and all of the codes and all that stuff is really fun. Like I grew up listening to my first band that I really cracked my head open was Tool, and it was the album Anima. And I've been a massive fan of theirs ever since. And it's challenging music, but it's moving. It tells a story, and it's very, emotional and dynamic music. So yeah, I'm getting off track here. I guess I should probably get back on the rails and get back to this new song. This video is going to be a long one, though. I'm going to have a lot to say. I'm going to pause it quite a bit throughout. So if this isn't your thing and you would rather listen to just a quick reaction, click off and go somewhere else. And of course, go somewhere else and listen to the song by Sleep Token before you try and hear anything about my analysis of this, because it's going to be a lot of pausing. So if you're with me for this long, and if you're going to stay with me for the rest of this, I really appreciate it. Again, my first reaction ever. So hopefully this isn't going to crash and burn. Let's press play and get started.
Well, you were late in verse, living on a promised word. Well, I am the rose you relinquished again.
I don't know that we've ever heard a woodwind in a Sleep Token song, maybe buried deep in the mix, just as a piece of ear candy, but it's front and center stage at the opening of this song. I wonder if there's some significance there. It kind of flutters in and out of this opening piano ballad, but you really don't hear it in the rest of the song. So now, in the context of the record, I wonder how that comes in, the transition from the first track to this second track. We don't know anything about the length of the tracks yet. So, I mean, that sheet music that they released already doesn't sound like anything from this song. So that could be the intro. It could be like a prologue, transition, little prelude type of track, or it could be a full length track. We don't know. But yeah, I don't think I've ever heard a woodwind, especially by itself like that. But then we get classic, Vessel coming in. Kind of reminds me of Rain, just he and the piano. Well, you were late in verse, living on a promised word. I am the rose you relinquished again. When I first heard that first lyric, when you were late in verse, I thought in verse was two separate words. And he was saying, when this story started, when I started writing this story, I put pen to paper and you were created in verse, in space, VERSE. But now that I'm seeing it on Genius and seeing it in this lyric video, and I think Spotify has it too as the word in verse. That I'm not so sure of in terms of interpretations. Living on a promised word, I am the rose you relinquished again. Living on a promised word, a promise he made to her, or is this promise like a record label contract? I know I'm getting deep here, but you never really know because he'll never come out and say it. Yeah, I mean, if you sign a contract to a record label, you have to churn out the hits, as they say, right? So you're indebted. You get that sign-on advance bonus, and you got to make a record. So if that's the story he's sticking to, and this is the image, Sleep Tokens, this is the lore, this is the story, then that's the promised word. Yeah, I don't know. I am the rose you relinquished again. Oh man, that feels like the trilogy is not at the end. It feels like he's the rose. A rose is something you give to someone that is endearing and you love, and that's a token of your love and appreciation and adoration for that person, right? If she relinquished it again, then he's been rejected again. But then again, maybe this opening 3 lines just means that's my frame of mind right now. That's my state of mind. That's back where I am. I'm right back in that position again as I start this new phase of our music. Either way, it makes me feel like, I mean, come on, they're Sleep Token. They have a history. They can't stray too far from that. There has to be a link, a thread between what just happened and what is coming. So that's what this is. This is a continuation from Euclid.
You and I are down head first in another world I have a feeling we're close to the end.
There's a hint of that dreaminess, shoegaziness that's to come right there, that final chord. And the piano, the augmented notes there. I don't know if it's a 7th or 5th, but there's definitely some embellishments on that chord. Beautiful chord, jazzy. And there's some more of that to come in this song. You and I are down head first in another world I heard, but I have a feeling we're close to the end. Yeah, close to the end. So this relationship, still, he's bringing it to a close. But this is kind of, right where Euclid left off. You and I are down head first, usually down head first, like just grinding it out, just getting through the day. Just, yeah. In another world I heard. Down head first in another world I heard. Like he heard it from someone else in another world? Or is he saying in another world he heard in his head? Like, is this another new world he's talking about? You and I are down head first in another world I heard. Yeah, it's the way he sings these phrases, these lyrics, I want to hear him speak them and hear where the inflection is, because that's important when you're stating something to someone. And there's a few instances where that is appropriate and important in this song with the lyrics in this song. I'd love to hear how you said that sentence, In another world, I heard. Yeah, there's just a few ways to interpret that. But anyway, I have a feeling we're close to the end. So there's that. But that piano and that vocal line. And there is a sheen, a brightness, a brilliance on that top end of this intro that is, man, it's very nice.
So come on, out from underneath who you were.
His harmonies don't get enough credit. It's very apparent in the mix in this song, in this section, It's almost the same volume as the lead vocal line, but throughout their catalog, his layering of vocals is really hands down. I mean, it's hard to beat. Not that you're trying to beat it, but yeah, it's pretty masterful the way that he layers his and the harmonies that he chooses. And now we've switched from piano. We've got some strings. It sounds almost like a dulcimer or mandolin. Not, yeah, I'm sure maybe it's a blend of acoustic and a Fender electric that's just clean. But it's got a shine to it that's really, really nice.
Come on, come on now. You know that it's time to win my
Yeah, so they cut out the guitar and the instrumental accompaniment right when they went into the next section. Go ahead, put your arms around me. But there's that lingering ambience of the room, the reverb, and the lingering note that carries the suspense into the next piece. That if you didn't have that, if you just cut out all music entirely and just had the vocal line, it would be a completely different feel and a different way to transition into that part. But because they let just that one note linger and sustain into the next part, it's so subtle. It's not something that a lot of people would pick up on and say, I hear that, I noticed that. But it's a trick of the trade, and it's really something important and clever that you can do in composing a song. So lyrically, so come on, out from underneath who you were. Yeah, so this past, this history of theirs is something that he's trying to move past. He's maybe the struggle is still there. I think we're about to find out that the struggle is still there with these verses. Come on, you know it's time to emerge. Yeah, so whatever you were, whatever I was, let's move on. Let's emerge from what that was and into this next phase. Yeah, there's some maturity there. Definitely some progression to the story that, I'm really excited throughout the rest of the album to hear how much more maturity is going to be present. The songwriting, damn, there's some real maturity there in this song.
arms around me, arms around me, arms around me. Go ahead, your arms around me, arms around me, arms around me. Go ahead, your arms around me, arms around me, arms around me.
Okay, so there's a few things to comment about this piece, this section, this motif. You're going to hear it 2 more times in this song, and the next time it'll be for the same time frame. It's going to be 4 measures long. Go ahead, wrap your arms around me, arms around me, arms around me. Yeah. He'll do that same thing, but the next time there will be harmonies in the second half of it, the 3rd and 4th measure. This time you get it by itself for 2 measures, and then you get the arpeggiated synth, or it could be a tapping guitar. I've seen someone perform it with a guitar, but Vessel plays guitar and he plays piano, so it could be, or it could just be an arpeggiated synth that they created digitally within a software program. But in any case, the tension's building, and we're waiting on what's next. And I've heard some people say EDM. That's got an EDM style to it. It's a digital instrument that's being played to create anxiety and tension and make you hang on what's next. And it's busy. There's a lot going on there. And what's coming up vocally with the cadence vocally, it kind of foreshadows that. And underneath of that, once the arpeggiation starts with that synth, you get a very low swelling. You hear some strings underneath of it. It could be guitar, but I think it's probably strings. But there's a trick that guitarists use, and you can go ahead and you can play the chord with the volume knob off, play the chord, and then slowly turn the volume up on the guitar, and it has this nice little swelling opening crescendo into the next movement of the song. And they've got that very low in the mix coming up, and then it disappears right before the beat drops, right before the next part comes in. And it's such a these are things about songwriting that really the average listener, you don't catch on to, you don't pay attention to. All you do is you feel it. You feel the tension, and you feel the, waiting, hanging on edge, waiting for what's next. But as a composer and as a writer, those things, those little pieces of ear candy and details, the nuance in the writing of the composing of the song, the recording, are really fun for us music nerds to listen closely to and point out. And it really works well for emotion. It tricks our brains and gives us those feelings of anxiety and tension and wanting to be there to what's next. So yeah, but that line, you'll hear it repeated next before the second chorus 4 times, and you'll have harmonies, so it builds a little bit on the second half of it. It's a little different. So it's not so, if you heard the same thing all the time, it would be a little bit boring, right? You would get a little bit bored with it. And some people, I think, are going to be, I haven't heard many fans yet talk about that, but I have heard a couple people say that is a little monotonous, and it's a little bit of a trick, and it feels a little bit like a low-hanging fruit, easy grab for attention, because it's a hook, and people are going to walk away with that in their heads. They're going to remember that about this song. And that's intentional. They want you to remember that about this song when you walk away. And they've got a big increased fan base coming on board now with this new music coming out. There's so much hype and so many people reacting and, curious about what this band is going to do next, that for the people who aren't familiar with them and just the average listener, that's going to be a big part of this song. It's going to attract people. And then the last time you hear it, you only get 2 measures of it, 2 bars. And I think that's intentional because it's tricks you just a little bit. It doesn't hang on quite so long because you've already heard it for the same length of time twice. And now you only get 2 bars of it. And then it goes into the heavier bridge type breakdown, which by mention is the same exact da 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 da. The guitar melody is in unison. That's the only melody. You've got a little synth that comes in later on behind it, but that's the only. So it's mirroring the vocal line, only instrumentally with guitars, and it's the heaviest part of the song. So there's some frustration being conveyed there by Vessel. Go ahead, put your arms around me. Like, come on, can't you just give me a hug? Can't we just? The battle is over. No one won here. We're walking away. And I realize at this point, I have gotten so far ahead of myself in this song. I'm already past the bridge, and we haven't even made it to the first verse. So let's press play again. I'm sorry.
Are you carbide on my nano, red glass on my light bulb, dark light on my culture, sapphire on my white gold, burst out on my chest and hide out in the vents. My blood beats so alive, my bite right through your lenses. Midnight in my mind's eye, drowning out the daylight. Godspeed to my enemies, I'll be asking for that call sign. You know the behavior, canines of the savior. Glory to the legion, trauma for the neighbor.
Okay, so one of the biggest points of debate that I've heard so far, the biggest gripes from fans and from the reactors so far, is this little stutter on the snare in this verse. Some people have said that it's a different meter, a different time signature. It's it's off. Yes, it's not a change in time signature. It's not a different meter. It's 4/4. It's just a simple beat, simple groove. But two, the drummer has delayed the placement of that snare a fraction, just a not even a half step, a quarter step, just a fraction. And he'll do it again once he comes in with the full acoustic kit. And it's because we had that beautiful intro and that pre-chorus that is very, just kind of ethereal, airy, dreamy, straightforward. The words are slow cadence, very deliberate, very lovingly said. And now we had the tension build with the arpeggiated synth. Go ahead, put your arms around me. And now we've got a verse that's very high cadence. A lot being said, a lot of wordplay, a lot of metaphor, a lot of symbolism. More to chew on, more to decipher, more to decode. And it's kind of chaotic, and it represents his state of mind when he's writing this. He's just spitballing. I'm sure it was fun for him to do this. And the music, the accompanying music, is mirroring that. And I think the stuttered beat, the stuttered snare placement is a very clever way. Like, if you listen to it a few times, it threw me for a loop the very first time I listened to it as well. And I was like, that's weird. Is that a different time signature? Is there something 5/4? Is there something strange going on here? No, it was just the slightest off-kiltered snare placement that made it, everything else, the bass, the kick drum, in this digital section. He has more fun with the kick drum in the full accompanied set, second verse coming up, but just this digital drum set is in the bass, and everything is lockstep with 4/4. It's just that snare placement that's a little bit off, and that's supposed to make you feel uneasy. Again, one of those very subtle, clever things in recording arts that gives you a sense of, that's not quite right, that doesn't feel right. Well, no, it doesn't, because that's what his lyrics, what he's saying in this verse doesn't feel right. Are you carbide on my nano, red glass on my light bulb? Nano carbide, red glass on the light bulb. So when a light bulb lights up the room, your perception of that space is, white light, yellow light, whatever. Red glass on a light bulb makes the whole room look red. Red is a color we associate with anger, with tension, anxiety. And he's asking this person, I would assume the same love interest that we've heard about for the last 3 albums. Dark light on my culture. Is this a photography reference? Because you have to develop film in a completely dark room. So in order for his images to come to life, she has to be the dark light, right? That's a fun one. That's a real fun one. Sapphire on my white gold. So these aren't like completely diametrically opposed. These aren't like light and dark, yin and yang, complete opposites. These are just ways of saying, are you this to my that? Burst out of my chest and hide out in the vents. Okay, so if you're an Aliens fan, come on, that's a fun one. But to keep with the context of the song, though, and the context of the rest of the lyrics, an alien, something that embeds itself within your chest and bursts out of your chest. And again, if he's talking about the same individual, these are like feelings, things that he's felt in this relationship. It's his perspective. It's not necessarily what was meant by the other party, the other person, but these are feelings that he's getting out. Hide out in the vents. Yeah, it's Aliens reference for sure. But if you relate that to Emergence, come on, it's time to emerge, come out from underneath who you were. He's saying, these are the feelings that I've got from you. This is where I've been with you. but come on, come out from underneath who you were. I don't want to have that perspective of you anymore. I don't want to look at you in that way anymore. So that's a beautiful, if you were going to try and contextualize it and tie it into the purpose of the song, the growth and the evolution of where we hope Vessel's going to go, then that's how I would correlate that. My blood beats so alive, might bite right through your lens. Yeah, I got blood pressure issues too, Vessel. It's midnight in my mind's eye, drowning out the daylight. Okay, darkness. So that's relatable to that dark light on my culture. Drowning out the daylight. So the character, the perspective that he's taken in this particular section of this song is very different than where we were in the beginning, and very different from where we get in the chorus and the conclusion of the song. Godspeed to my enemies who be asking for that call sign. Is this a nod to the fans, maybe even the haters, but asking for that call sign, like the bat signal. People who just love Vessel and they want, that's what they want from him. People just want Vessel to be Vessel. The thing of that is like there's a guy underneath there, right? Everyone. I mean, I know this is an image and a projection and marketing tool, and it works really well for this band and this music. And I love that it's, means anonymity and mystique, and people know their identities who really have researched it. And but the fact that they've made music the number one forefront of what they do, and they don't want any kind of recognition, physically or personally from that, I think is a beautiful thing. But people want you to be that, right? Like Vessel. Godspeed to my enemies who be asking for that call sign. You know the behavior, canines of the Savior. Glory to the Legion, trauma for the neighbors. Oh, okay. So with more Sleep Token music coming up, glory to the Legion, that means all the Legion of Sleep Token fans are going to be high times, having fun, blasting that music, which is going to be traumatic for neighbors, right? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's heavy, mysterious wordplay and metaphor and symbolism. Hard to say exactly what's meant, but that's one interpretation of it. I live in an apartment complex. The people upstairs from me they've gotten better, because I think I've complained enough times to management here that they've had to curb their behavior, but playing music late into the night, just kids, normal stuff. I'm almost 45 this year, so I'm getting old and I'm getting crotchety, and I wake up in the middle of the night for these people walking heavy across their floors, and damn you whippersnappers, damn kids. Glory to the Legion, trauma for the neighbors. Okay, and we're getting back into that go ahead and wrap your arms around me part again. More digital elements. Arms around me, arms around me, arms around me, yeah, your arms around me. Something I wanted to comment on there. This little section here, it's almost got like a Brazilian flair, like congos and bongos flair. It's 4/4, right? It's still dun 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 3 2 4 1 2 3 2 4. But there is a polyrhythmic element to it that's subtle, like a swinging eights type of thing. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 6 dun 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 1 2 3 4 5 6. So there's a little bit of that in there, and that off kilter snare placement falls in line with that 3/4 holographic, polyrhythmic side of that. So that's fun. And then the guitars and the bass really kind of hold down the 4/4 rhythm. It's a very sassy verse to add the crunchy guitars in here. And he gives more heavy symbolism and more wordplay. So it's just kind of upping the level of emotion and delivery.
God's soul of flesh for your dead, God's space dust for your fuel. Dark days for your solstice, dancing through the depths of hellfire on the winds that started from within. My blood beats so alive, might tear right through my skin. So tell me what you meant by living past your half-life, in lockstep with the universe and your well-versed in the afterlife. You know that I'm sanctified by what's below, no matter what you do, no matter where you go.
Before they went into that second verse too, and I think they did it the first verse as well. And then I know that they do it before they go into the heavy bridge part. There's that, ooh, it's like a Ric Flair. But it reminds me of like 80s too. Like you had a lot of those kind of like, if you guys ever had a Casio keyboard, any of you musicians out there from old school back in the 90s, there were some preset noises. You had, like cowbell and like dog barks and stuff like that. And some of that stuff is used in like old 80s hip hop and pop too. But that's what it reminds me of. But I'm sure that's Vessel having fun in the studio. They really have fun in this song, which is nice to hear too. The flow in these verses, man, that's so much fun to listen to. It's such a groove. Windows down car. Yeah, this verse, I don't know. I love I mentioned before the last song I worked on was called Emergence, but the whole final album that I released was all space themed. Like I had some clips from NASA inserted into some of the songs. Space shuttle taking off. Just a bunch of stuff from space. And I'm a big fan of like, not astrology, but astronomy and, cosmic study. So it's fun to see some of this wordplay and imagery that he's using in here. I've got solar flares for your dead god, space dust for your fuel rods, dark days for your solstice, dancing through the depths of hellfire on the winds that started from within. Yeah, so he's, dancing through the depths of hellfire on the winds that started from within. So he's still, when he sings these verses and he's putting himself in that frame of mind, he's going back to what we had in the trilogy. He's putting himself back into that state of anguish and frustration and anger, resentment. All those feelings are coming out in these verses for sure. My blood beats so alive, might tear right through my skin. Yeah, still got the warm, boiling blood, huh? So tell me what you meant by living past your half-life, in lockstep with the universe, and you're well-versed in the afterlife. You know that I'm sanctified by what's below, no matter what you do, no matter where you go. So that's a little bit interesting. Well-versed in the afterlife. So people who believe in an afterlife, right, have some sort of maybe not religion, but the belief. There's a belief there that there's an afterlife, whether it's karmic, whether it's reincarnation, whether it's going to heaven or hell, or he says, that I'm sanctified by what's below. Is he talking about below his feet, like the earth, like being grounded, like more of a agnostic approach? Yeah, not real sure, but that is interesting. It beckons further inspection, which we'll probably never get from Vessel because he doesn't grant interviews and doesn't talk about interpretation to his songs, it makes it fun for all of us, doesn't it? We can just sit here and do our videos and talk about, well, this might mean this. Who knows? Yeah. Sanctified by what's below, or what's inside, what's below. Yeah, hard to say. We won't spend too much time spinning our wheels on that verse. But as soon as he finishes that, chaotic, confused verse again, he goes into this really beautiful, dreamy, airy, ethereal, ambient section, pretty much with just himself, lyrics, vocals. You might be the one to take away the pain and let my mind go quiet. And nothing else is quite the same as how I feel when I'm at your side. Yeah, if he's talking about the same relationship, the same person he's been talking about all this time throughout the trilogy, it's interesting. You might be the one to take away the pain. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's listen to it, and then I'll talk a little bit more about why I think that's interesting. That's an absolutely heavenly chorus. Absolutely heavenly. Man, like the Take Me Back to Eden chorus where it blossoms and blooms, and the Vor chorus where it steps away from all the aggression. It's kind of reminiscent of that, but that chorus is wow. Really, wow. That's such a beautiful chorus. And he's doing the same thing as he did in the intro. Come on, out from underneath who you were. Come on now. It's time to emerge. Same thing, only he's got full accompaniment backing from the band. So it's a play of dynamics with instruments, and it's just beautifully done. And he's got the harmonies there. Those harmonies are so well done, well mixed, well chosen. You might be, let's get back to that I was saying is so interesting. You might be the one to take away the pain and let my mind go quiet, and nothing else is quite the same as how I feel when I'm at your side. All right, this is another one of those lines where I'd really love to hear him speak it plainly in speech and not sung. Because I want to hear him say, you might be the one to take away the pain and let my mind go quiet. Is the emphasis on the word you? You might be the one to take away the pain and let my mind go quiet. In other words, here's where I'm going to get a little personal. Personal and hopefully not too emotional. I'm going through a separation now with my partner that I've been with for almost like better part of 24 years. Married since 2008, but together since 2001, 2002. November 2001. And it's been a few years of just going different directions. It's been longer than a few years of going different directions, but I still love this person deeply and want them to be happy. And this person, I say this person, I don't want to say names. I don't want to do that, so I'll keep it anonymous and keep that out of it. But it's been hard because I've been someone who, and I've always been someone who does my best to be very kind and caring and thoughtful and considerate And maybe we all see ourselves in this light. Maybe we do. Because I know she has her faults, but she also has her values and her positives and her, really beautiful aspects of herself. But for a long time, it's not been reciprocal. It's not been requited. So all of my attempts at being pleasant and trying to reconnect and trying to, go out on dates, trying to reconnect. It's a unique situation, our situation. I can't go into it too much, but we lead very different lives, and so much so that we need separate house. It kind of came to a point where we needed separate households to be able to live the lifestyles that we wanted to live. And that's kind of the beginning of the end. If you're in a marriage and you have to live in different homes because of what your lifestyle and your vocation requires of you, then that's kind of the writings on the wall at that point, that you're probably not going to be able to be together. So I've done my best over the years to try and be civil and peaceful, and try and find out if there's a way to reconnect and rekindle that flame. But if it goes unrequited and it goes unmet with any decency over time, then it starts to feel like really torturous and traumatic, and it does a number on you. So this line that he has said here, "You might be the one to take away the pain and let my mind go quiet." He's saying all of that bars that he just spit about, all of this strife and struggle and inner turmoil that he has. I think he's saying, you might be the one that has the power to help make my mind go quiet. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready for the next phase, for you to move on, for me to move on. But you might be the one to help my mind go quiet. I might need that from you. I might need, you to put your arms around me. Okay, this repeated line that gets heavy in a moment because he's still saying it. He still wants this person to put their arms around him. And again, it doesn't have to be in any sort of derogatory, sexually committed act, hugging someone, embracing someone. It's just moving on, and it's just being good to one another and admitting that you still care deeply, deeply about this person and want nothing but the best for them. But it's time, it's time to come out from where you were, that old past and all that history and all that, regret and, remorse, and embrace, So I think that's what I'm choosing from my perspective to be on this line anyway. You might be the one to take away the pain and let my mind go quiet. Nothing else feels quite the same as how I feel when I'm at your side. That's not to say that this is going to be romantic again and that this is going to blossom into some new phase of a relationship. It's just to say that you're a special person, and being next to your side makes me feel unlike any other place in the world. So I think it's a really mature way of moving past a history that's been really hard, difficult. There you go. I put my personal introspective, reflective touch on this now. Now we can move past this. But man, that chorus, fuck. There's a little pad in the back. Yeah. He's still saying, go ahead, put your arms around me. Only this time, we get just the guitars, just the emotion, and it's a frustrated, angry type of emotion. Like, put your damn arms around me. And there's that padded synth in the background. And then it goes up, and it gives it a really dissonant, eerie feel there at the end of that melody that mirrors the vocal line. Go ahead, put your arms around me. So clever. So clever. And I have to believe that that is intentional. And the fact that it's been repeated several times in this song, in the context of the song, makes it feel like, to me, like it's a frustration at embracing, like just trying so hard. Again, like when we hear art music, oftentimes we just project our own experience onto that piece of music, that art that we see. What's that phrase? Life imitates art, art imitates life, something like that. But that's what it feels like to me. It feels like still a frustration and a festering uneasiness and anxiety about that situation. I'm going to let this next chorus play until we get to the outro, and then I might have some more words, but this next chorus is where it's really full and everything is there, and the meters are peaked on the mastering bus. It's just divine. Okay, so there's this section within the context of the song, which is like this peaceful, soft landing, bring down from the rest of what's just occurred. And it gives you a chance to kind of cleanse your palate before the next track. And just is really like a peaceful. And then there's a few other things to comment on it. Of course, when I first heard the song, my mind went to the summoning, and I said, wow, that equation worked so well on the summoning with a surprise ending that's sexy, funky, and what was being said and the funkiness of the bass. Here we've got sexy sax and piano, like this noir feeling. Like I feel like I've just stepped into an old 40s film, black and white, the detective, and he's got the, his love interest there on the table. And it just has that, rainy day, sexy sax feel to it. It was a formula that worked really well for him with the summoning. And now it's back. So I think that's a clever play. But in the context of the song, if I had never heard any other music of theirs and I hadn't heard the summoning and I didn't know the history about how well that worked for them, then I would say this is still a lovely ending to this song, a lovely play. And I kind of hate that about memory and about history, because doesn't it just color future experiences. Like, oh, well, I've heard that before, so it's not so surprising or as impactful, or immediately it takes me out of the song because my brain went to something else that they did and how it was a, you know, ending to a previous song that worked out really well for them. So it was unfortunate that it took me out of the moment there. But just going back and listening to it several other times, just listening in the context of the song, it was really, really nice. It reminded me of a couple of other bands too. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the band Dredge, but they have an album called RCA. Beautiful, beautiful album. Top-notch musicianship. I saw those guys when I was in the band Erase the Gray in 2001, I think, back in Cleveland, 2000 or 2001. And didn't know anything about them, didn't know who they were, had never heard any other music or anything, and saw them perform live. And it was on the RCA album tour. And my God, they had saxophone player live with them on one of their songs. And it really reminded me of this, or this reminded me of that, rather. And then a Tesseract song. You guys have probably at least heard of Tesseract if you're familiar with metal and rock music. It's a progressive band from the UK. Milton Keynes, London, across the pond, some good blokes across the pond. I've seen those guys several times in concert, and also top musicianship, prog rock. Really great songwriting. And they had a song off of the Altered State album that had saxophone and instrumental song, and saxophone closed out the song. Actually, I think it went through most of the song, but the come down in that song was very similar to the landing in this song. So yeah, my brain went a lot of different places when I heard that. And of course, it went to Sexy Sax Guy, the guy that used to go into the shopping malls and stand up on tabletops and embarrass people. I think it was like George Michael's or something that he would play to, and I think he was just wearing like Speedos and a tank top, or, you know, Daisy Dukes shorts and a tank top, and would just play George Michael's on top of tabletops to embarrass people. It was great. But back to the song. I'm pretty sure that's Gabby from Bill Murray. And Bill Murray, if you're not familiar with that group, every song that he writes is heartbreak, much like Sleep Token's formula, heartbreak. And Sleep Token took them out on tour this last go around. And the fact that Gabby plays guest saxophone on this song makes me wonder if they're going to be out on the North American tour with them. I don't know if that's been announced yet. I may be late to the party. Maybe that's already common knowledge. But I would love to see Bill Murray live because I really enjoy their music. That last album, American Motorsports, if you guys haven't listened to that, go listen to that. Because if you like Sleep Token's story and their songs, Johnny Frank is also a top-notch, top-shelf songwriter. And it'll make you cry. It'll give you the same feels that Sleep Token gives you. And he uses a lot of different elements, but he uses country elements in his. It's very American, very, very American, but phenomenal songs. Kind of poppy, more on the poppy side, but it's got some great rock songs and ballads, and just, as the kids would say, bangers. Got some great bangers. But we're almost at the end of this song now. Gonna let this sax take it away, and we'll finish this thing up. Looks like we're gonna be right around an hour.